Okay.
Perfect. Welcome. Start joining. So yeah, we
Yay.
wait just a little bit longer for people to attend. Yeah, if you already would like to introduce yourself in the chat, please do so. Maybe also where you're joining from today. I think that's also always really nice to know. Just not on the stream. Can you see our faces in the stream? I hope so.
Yeah.
Hey,
Perfect. Thank you,
Okay.
Frederick, for your feedback. Cool. Okay, well, now that we're here, I think we're ready to go. So, welcome everyone. Welcome to the first edition of Elevated, our compact trend forecasting event. I'm Annabelle. I work in content marketing for Profoto, and I'm sitting here together with Laurence, who's joining us from Switzerland today. So, we're gonna start the presentation, and then afterwards we're gonna have a Q&A session. So, while you are watching, please already think about some questions, or maybe something pops up. You can always post everything in the chat, and we get back to that later. So, Laurence, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, of course. Hi, guys. My name is Laurence de Groot, and today I will be taking a dive with you into the latest industry trends and hopefully inspire and evoke a spark into your store design, e commerce, and visual content creation. So, my personal love for trends came from my study academy at Artemis, and this is where I met Jan Agelink. He's a well known trend forecaster in Amsterdam. And after my studies, I landed into the e commerce industry where I've worked in big studios. And almost 2 years ago, I started at Style Shoots, which is now Profoto, of course. And I'm very excited to get this opportunity to share my insights with you. And after years of collaboration with Jan, I now use this knowledge to translate these trends into the e commerce market. So, enough about me. Let's start with the presentation. So,
Cool.
I'm going to be sharing my screen and I'm going to turn off my camera so we can really focus on the visuals on screen. So, let me share this first. Okay. And then we're here.
Right.
And I'm turning this off. So just let me know if you can see it properly. Maybe Annabelle can do that because I can't see the
I
other
see it.
screen.
I think you can also see it on the screen now, right? The first slide. I think so. Yeah, I think we're ready to go.
Okay, perfect.
Cool.
Yes. So let's get started. The last 2 years, we've been really going through some tough times because we had the pandemic, which was followed up by a war that caused inflation, energy crisis, and therefore the customer had less to spend. But I really wanted to talk about something positive and a fresh new start. Because in the beginning of January, I was really feeling that gloomy Blue Monday feeling. So I really needed this spark of energy and joy. And so we're really going to look at the spring summer collections of 2023. We're talking about the revival of fashion, and we've experienced that fashion is far more resilient than we thought. People are able to travel again and therefore also buy more travel related attire. We also return to the office, therefore more suits, and we're also returning back into nightlife so we can dress festive again. We're also going to look at the metaverse merging with reality because after this lockdown, we've seen that the online presence is really strong. So now we can go to the store again. How will these stores look and how can we compete with the online presence? So we see that there's no limit to creativity here. And then finalizing, circularity is key. Circularity is playing an undeniable role in the fashion industry. It's one as the fashion industry is one of the biggest polluters in the world. We have to see how we can manage this and change this into something more positive. So that brings me to the first concept that we see here on the right. It's by Paula Eulargia scalona. And this is her research project called Symbiotic Nature. She is experimenting with cultivating plants into fabric and garments, and therefore biodegradable. But where do these concepts come from? There is a philosopher in Perth, Australia called Glenn Albrecht, and he wrote a book called Earth Emotions. So he feels that in this world, we don't have enough vocabulary to explain our feelings towards nature. He's also talking about this thing called symbiocene. At the moment, we're living in an Anthropocene, which means that we as humans are having a dominant and overwhelming impact on nature, which is quite scarring. And whereas in the Symbiocene, we would be living with nature instead of against it. And one of the really nice words that I picked up as well is solstalgia. And this actually means that, for example, if you imagine your house and there is this park that you always used to go to because you have your morning coffee there or you walk with your dog, and for some reason they're taking it down and building houses there. Solstalgia then explains that word for missing that piece of nature around you. And it's really interesting to see how artists and also big fashion brands are using these words and using it in their collection. So here's an example.
When fashion meets gardening. For the latest men's runway collection, Loewe has grown blends on a series at Germans. I'm choosing a process perfected in collaboration with Paula Ulargi Escalona. Each garment takes 20 days to grow to the desired length. They are cultivated in a specially constructed polytunnel on the outskirts of Paris. They require regular watering and maintenance to ensure a runway-ready appearance.
So a really cool project this is. And of course, it's not something that we can wear right now, but it certainly is interesting that such a big brand is taking such a bold step and experimenting with nature and fashion. So the head designer, Jonathan Anderson, also quoted, I think we should have a place to be able to talk about things constructively. And we have to find a way to work with nature instead of against it. So here you see some more details from the show, and it's just really beautiful. And you can see that the trousers are still completely wet for the plants to be able to live. But then again, how do we speak? Like, how do we pronounce this name, this brand, Loewe? Maybe we can ask our models here.
Loe or Loewe?
I'm not sure. Loewe.
Loe.
Louis.
Loev.
Loewe.
Louis.
Sorry?
Loev.
Yeah.
I don't really get the pronunciation.
Loewe.
Am I missing it? I don't think so.
Leveol.
L-O.
Loewe.
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 Loewe. Loewe. Isn't it?
Loewe. Yeah.
It's Loewe. I think so. I searched it on YouTube.
Yeah, of course.
So maybe someone can tell me afterwards how to pronounce it properly.
Yeah, what's the real version now? I have no idea.
We will. I think we will hear it afterwards. And that brings me to the first, also another catwalk that's really inspiring. So this is the catwalk from Dries van Noten, and his theme was optimism. And then it's really funny because the first 10 to 12 models come out in completely black, and you think, okay, optimism, how is this happening? And then you gradually see the colors coming forward. So it's slowly inviting color, but also a lot of flower applications and really intricate designs. And then in the end, it's this complete explosion of wildflowers. It's like a super wildflower bouquet. And it reminded me of a documentary that I saw of him, because he has this really big house and then a garden filled with flowers. So yeah, it's really where he gets his inspiration from. And then I also looked at the catwalk from Jill Sander, and they have this wildflower field going on as well, where the models are walking through. And the flowers are coming from lava sand, which is also very poetic because when there's an eruption of a volcano, lava sand is very fertile. So it's like a new beginning, a new start. And we don't just see the flowers for women, but also in the menswear collection. So men can also wear flowers. So on the left, we see more of the wildflowers again, but then in the middle and on the right, we see it in a more abstracted prints. And this was the collection from Louis Vuitton. But also on the left for the Etro collection, and on the right there was a beautiful editorial shoot by William Waterforth for Erdem. And then bringing that to our first store, this is in Tokyo. It was Louis Vuitton who had a pop-up for savoir-faire. And the concept was about a young couple that loves to travel the world. So accordingly, the entire store sees constructive number of meticulously crafted and immersive settings that reference alluring cities and sites across the planet. Well, quite a mouthful, but it's a really beautiful store if you look around. And how are we going to use that into our product photography? So here is an example of Heim Goods. They sell room mists, and this one is called the Forest. And well, you really feel like as if you're in the forest with this mist. So on the left side, we see more of a set design with plants and maybe some stone, and then light coming from one side up. So it really feels like this sunlight coming through this thick forest. And then on the right side, more of a product photography where we have more just a green background, but then bringing back the moss in the hand and also having the nails green. And I think also the arm is quite wet, so you really feel that room mist going on. And another example of them is the moon bloom. And I also really like this one because the moon, of course, in the dark, so we have a black background, but then the white flowers really embody that moonshine. And if we bring it to more brighter nature side, then this project also was very nice by Dennis Peterson. And of course, now we're all looking at products that are beauty products, but if I could totally see this happening also if you put a shoe in there or if you put like other products in there. It could be really nice to shoot your products this way. And if we're going to look at set design, then on the left-hand side, we see Acne Studios. And this is their spring summer 23 for men. And you might think, okay, this photo is quite blurred, but it was actually meant this way. So I guess it's also a bit like, yeah, dreamy, nostalgic feeling. But we see like a white room backdrop and then the roses coming from the floor, which is really nice. And on the right side, Miss Gibbon flowers. So that could also be a really nice set for your summer collection. So what will the future of shopping look like offline? So we know that the online shopping is such a huge part of our lives. So how will the offline stores compete? Or must they even compete? So this is Showfields, and it's a fully immersive shopping experience where the getting together is more important than the actual shopping. So you're creating a bond with your customer, and that's everything. So if you're looking inside this Showfield store in New York City, you can go from one floor to the other through this slide, which is quite fun. So let's see what they have to say about this on TikTok.
Is this the most interesting store in the world? This is Showfields located on Lafayette Street. Known as a premier curator, they bring together mission-driven, innovative brands, artists, and communities from around the world. Their philosophy is to change the status quo by merging art and commerce through immersive experience, empowering customers, brands, and artists to discover themselves. So if you're in town, stop over and pick up a magic wand when you visit. You'll find out why.
So I definitely want to go if I'm going to America again. I'm not sure if the magic wand will still be there, but I'm sure there will be something else to discover.
Please take me.
And so how are we going to translate this into our e-commerce? So this is an example of a set factory. And you really see this super nice, like piece of fabric with the stripes on it. And yeah, you really to see that there's like a lot of creativity and joy in making these images. Also thought it was interesting because I looked on their website and they say, we believe in smart fashion that cares. We design beautiful, practical, and solution driven fashion that works for everyone. And our products are here to solve problems and create joy. Well, that's lovely. And then I looked also on oh, yes, it's working. Then I looked on Gucci's website and I found these images. And I thought, okay, wow, it kind of looks like a rendering, like as if these girls are in this online game, like a video game. It almost feels like surreal. So really lovely to see that as well. And if we're bringing it back to stores again, this was a collaboration of Jinsa 6 and Yoshi Roten. It's in Tokyo, and this was this. It's called Warmest Wishes. So they had two light installations and three-dimensional objects, and they were stacked onto each other. And yeah, this was really like a playful, colorful light show sort of going on. And I thought it was really interesting because it's a different way of approaching the holiday season. Because Warmest Wishes was for the holiday season, so this was in December. And talking about really colorful dopamine colors, then this pop-up store by Yinkai Lori is also really lovely. So he's a British Nigerian artist and designer, and explores how stores can encourage customers to connect, experience, and discover his work that's inspired by his heritage and storytelling. So he's recalling the houses and mosques that are found in Burkina Faso. And Iloria has created a new typology and design languages into this colorful display and units. So if you look at his pop-up store, this is in London. I'm not sure if it's still on right now, but this was in London. Then you really see this really gray and then this huge pop of color where, you really get invited to go inside. Like I would definitely would have a look and see what's here. And then when we are inside, then you see all these lovely colors and playful blocks and things. And also if you can read it in the back, it says, if you can dream, then anything is possible. Well, that isn't positivity, I don't know. And that also brings me to Ed Mendoza. Ed Mendoza is graduated from Central St. Martin's last February, and this was his final collection. He has Peruvian, Grenadian, and St. Lucian roots, and he was actually one of the two winners for the L'Oreal Professional Prize. And what he does is he with his collection, he really looked into like a deep exploration of textiles and the human body. So he designed the garments for plus size men and non-binary. And then if we also look on the left, how the collection was shot, it's just a white room, but then completely graffitied in the same style of the clothing. So that could also be an interesting thing for creating your own product shooting. So maybe you can use some, like an artist or someone else to create the background. And if we bring it back to the catwalk again, then we really see a lot of playfulness, a lot of like no limits, rainbows. It almost feels a bit like childish in a way because you see the big clasps on the right by Louis Vuitton. And then for Marni, it's really like rainbows and fluffy bags with weird things that are coming out. And then on the left also for Craig Green, it looks like this onesie, sort of like a tiger onesie, but then in more of an elevated way. So how do we translate this again into our e-commerce? I found this really lovely shooting by Guts and Gusto. It's just their stocking collection, and they use designer chairs that are like really quirky shaped, and then women's legs with the stocking. So I really love this example. And they just put this along with all their other products. And if we take this then a step further into editorial shooting, then we see a lot of gradients, more out of this world shapes. It's a combination of nature and fake. So if we look on the left, you see a studio project by Bonsoir Paris. So it's a combination of flowers and the plastic that makes it feel a little bit alien-esque. And then on the right, shooting by Pete Daly, where you get the parts of nature, of course, but I think maybe because of the purple lilac gradient that it feels like it's not really nature at all. And then I would like to bring you to one of our own projects. We made this in the studio back in May, and we wanted to put e-commerce in a different light and showcase what's possible with the live machine. So we added an extra LED light and separate color changing light strips. And talking about creativity and how to use your creativity maybe online is something that also takes me back to my studies. I always love to make collages, and my collages were always offline because that's what I was used to. But then I found this artist called Edward Kanareki. I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, but he makes collages online that move. So here we go. I think it's also really fun to use that for for presenting your clothing. And then I looked onto the Mango site, and then I found also some sort of collaging going on. So yeah, really lovely. And then to take it even a step further, if you also want to design for the online world, this collaboration of Burberry and Minecraft is really fun. So that was the end of the first Elevated. I thought it was also really nice that once we came up with the name and with the whole presentation, that also this photo by Tuan An Lee completely fitted in. Was really nice. And I also want to take you into a little sneak peek for the next Elevated talk. So next time we're going to talk about solar therapy, about body positivity, and about the future is fungi. So thank you guys.
Cool. Thank you so much, Laurence, for this presentation, and everyone who's joining, of course. If you have any questions, please post them in the chat. I already see one from Melanie. So she said it's a very inspiring presentation, and that she has a jewelry business. Do you have any tips on styling rings and bracelets?
Of course. So it really depends also on your branding. So maybe some of the products are they fit more into the nature part, or some fit more into like the really joy and that part. Even if you're working, for example, for if you have like products inside the jewelry that's with wood or something like that, then you can bring that forward. So if we take the flower flowers, for example, then maybe you could have like a little branch, and then you could put bracelets around them, or you could stack them up and put some flowers in between. Maybe something like this. It all depends on, of course, your brand.
Cool. Thank you. Yeah, so if there's no other questions, I think then, yeah, we can move on. Thank you so much for joining us today. You all received the recording of the session via email right after. So you can watch it again or share it with your friends, your colleagues, your mom, your dad. And then we also get you also get a questionnaire with it, a feedback questionnaire, because we'd love to know how we can make this session even better. So please fill that in for us. And with that, yeah, thank you, Laurence.
Yeah,
And I
thank you
wish you
guys.
all, yeah,
See
I
you
wish
next
you all
time.
a nice day.
Yeah, have a nice day, guys.
Cool. Bye bye.
Bye.